Hello Roftwood, it's me, Zombie GG, formerly with the Roftwood Coordination Center, presenting you with my 33rd RCC Fireside chat. I would like to preface this episode by stating today's date, February 24th, 2020, and my retirement from the game just a few days prior. Roftwood, it's been 893 days from my September 2017 return to Malton till my quit date in late February 2020. In that time, I've produced 32 of these episodes, composed 9 comic book style journal entries on the Urban Dead Wiki, and did my best to entertain a Discord server that peaked at one point to 263 members. My driving force was love. Love for this game, love for the players in it. My dream was to set a stage where all players could cultivate the best in one another, a stage where everyone could be cool, promote positivity, play clean, be respectful, and have fun. This past weekend, I am mega amazed by the vast number and caring content of the messages I've received following my retirement from the city and the curtain closing of this RCC show. You are the good stuff, the reason for all I'm proud to have contributed to this community and game. The short and sweet as to the why I've decided to step away is most simply reduced to me needing time to recharge and reassess my mission. I am most recently working on accepting the fact that despite my best efforts at creating a community for all to enjoy, some folks simply just don't have a taste for my flavor of cooking, so to say, and perhaps I let that hurt me more than I should have. For those whom I've offended with my style, please do know it was never my intention to cause pain and frustration. My mission from day one was to bring people together, and my recipe for success was to show everyone that behind these screens we play on, beyond the characters we play, we are all humans with beating hearts. In honor of the hearts you have all shared with me, I present you my final wrap-up in this RCC FSC series. The rest of my recordings were with the fine officers from the Soldiers of Crossman Pro Survivor group. The following is a recording I did on November 11th, 2019 with Millhouser from the SOC, following Lord Mullick's incredibly lethal and beautifully well-orchestrated Halloween 2019 bashing of Roftwood. Thank you, Millhouser, and the rest of the SOC and DEM folks who assisted the RCC the best they could during that most horrifying RRF Halloween invasion. Also, much love to all those who reached out to me this past weekend with such kind words and wishes. They meant a lot. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. So, when did you first get into Urban Dead, and how soon did you join up with the Soldiers of Crossman?
Yeah, so I joined Urban Dead early December 2010, and I was contacted the Soldiers of Crossman through the wiki probably 3 or 4 days later, and I've been with them ever since.
Did you just happen to spawn in that area, or did you read about them in the wiki, or what was the initial lure that got you in there?
I actually spawned at Fort Creedy in Pitney Bank, and I was getting kind of used to the game for a day or so, and then I started Googling some stuff and saw the wiki and just how in-depth and expansive the game actually was. And from there, I went to the groups page, saw a couple of the higher-end groups at the time, read through kind of their history and what they were about, contacted Soldiers of Crossman, and I was part of their group before I think got out of Ridleybank at the time, and then worked my way over there for the next couple days. And
so in 2010, where was the meta game at? Did you contact them on the wiki, or did you go to a forum?
They had a link to their forum on their wiki page.
So you come in, you research them on the wiki, you go to their forum, and then you get accepted pretty quickly, and you move from Ridleybank just straight over to Darville Heights. When did you get to finally go to the Crossman PD?
I probably made it to the Crossman PD a couple days later, linked up with Icon and Frank at the time, who were both officers, and they kind of gave me my bearings, a lot of conversations through the forum, just trying to learn the parameters of the game, and it helped me out quite a bit at the very beginning there.
Were you even max level yet, or are you pretty fresh to the game?
Yeah, I was probably a level 2, maybe 3 by the time I made it to Darville Heights.
Oh, man, I remember that. My first experience in Urban Dead back in like 2006, being super noob.
Yeah.
The group I looked up to is called the Roftwood Assault Force, and I was super rookie at the time, and they weren't interested. And then by the time I got like kind of experience and recruitable, they just like disappeared off the map.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But that's cool. So you kind of got brought up in the Soldiers of Crossman. Like you get introduced to the game, you hook up with those guys, and then you like level up your first experience with those folks.
Yes, I mean, and they like the Soldiers of Crossman, the officers at the time, and just kind of like I wouldn't say mantra, but like the motto that they kind of had really helped my character develop over the past 9 years now. Particularly with like things like PKing and GKing and all that type of stuff. Because like anybody, you get PK'd, all you want to do is turn around and smoke somebody.
Oh, vengeance! You want it. It's so you want it
Yeah.
fast too. Like.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was one of the good things about the structure that they had at the time, because it was a pretty big group when I first got there. I want to say we were in the 40s of active players, maybe high 30s.
This was like 2010.
Yeah, yeah. So it was pretty active, and they had a pretty hard stance on kind of their own morals and ethics of the game, and it just kind of helped me as a character develop how I was going to approach the rest of my time playing.
Yeah, Frank's shared a pretty cool perspective about just look at the bigger picture when it comes to PKers, because I guess the Soldiers of Crossman are a pro survivor group, so they spend their AP on pro survivor type things like killing zombies and keeping suburbs in good statuses and stuff. And to spend, what did he say? He said like, let them waste their AP, don't waste yours on them or something like that. Just be like, whatever, they wasted their AP on you. Don't waste all the AP it takes to hunt them down, shoot them, get the ammo.
Exactly, and that idea or that mindset is actually it's become considerably more useful over the past 4 or 5 years when the numbers of active players has dropped substantially. Because now instead of having 35 members with a combined AP of whatever 35 50 is, I don't know. But now when we only have 10 or 11 active players, that AP needs to be spent, on things that are actually productive. Because when you start 3 or 4 guys get revenge, go off and kill a PKer, they're effectively out of the fight for what we're doing, and we got to waste another day or two just so they can kind of recoup their AP.
Where Roftwood is right now in November after that Halloween smashing, it's like all our AP, we can't chase these guys down right now, in my opinion. There's, different conversations going on, but in my opinion, it's like I'm spending all my AP just trying to kick things out of buildings and repair it before they get too crazy ruined. I don't know. I can't even imagine. I haven't had ammo in my freaking inventory all month. Since that huge Halloween smashing, like I've just been trying to repair buildings, and literally I use my knife, I'll use my claws, I'll use my axe, I don't care. I just try to kick things out of buildings and repair them.
Roftwood is definitely paying the price for that, invasion of Ridleybank that you guys had.
We took the Blackmore building on Halloween, and then they took our suburb on Halloween.
No, yeah, we were still in Stanbury, kind of like split between Stanbury, Roftwood, and Tollington at the time. I know we had a couple guys try and make it up to the Blackmore, but I don't think that.
We should have took the hint when there was only like 3 zombies inside. It's like, whoa, where are the RRF? And then it's like we're taking screenshots and putting pumpkins while like the whole suburb of Roftwood is just like getting literally murdered in gore corpse strikes and zombie freaking break-ins. But,
yeah, they're pretty coordinated on there.
Yeah, they have a very interesting organization. I don't know, very dedicated user base, good leadership, and the number one thing I hear about those guys is they run a really good narrative, which sparks my mind, because I think that running a good narrative is pretty fundamental to keeping folks logging into the game. If you can like somehow maintain fun, like something to do, I don't know.
No, absolutely. Having that good solid end state that everybody can kind of work towards, whether it's going across the suburb or going across the map to a different suburb to try and help guys out, having that good end state
Yeah, the RF are just really good at running a good narrative,
Yeah.
keeping folks motivated, keeping those wheels turning. So, I want to go back to Soldiers of Crossman a little bit. You joined in 2010, and then do you remember any kind of big campaigns or anything? Like, for the RCC, our big campaigns are usually just these tours on Nicole's Mall, which is like right next door to Roftwood, and it's like heavily defended by local zombies and supported by the RRF.
Yeah.
Whenever we just have nothing to do, we just start shit over there. Do you guys have any campaigns that you remember with the Soldiers of Crossman that you'd like to share?
So I mean, I kind of joined a little bit late in the game for a lot of those historical campaigns, especially the Siege of Kiger Mall 1, 2, and 3. But there's a lot of stuff going on at the time, and we had a lot of different squads kind of moving around and doing their own nefarious type acts. I mean, a lot of it was centered around the Vanguard, who kind of stayed in that Narvel Heights area, constantly fighting back the Mountain Globetrotters and the Dead and Flower to Decay, and some other major groups who are always trying to tag them all. But as far as large campaigns, I don't really remember anyone's like of note. It was a lot of it was, if you're gonna go off, don't go too far because Kyger Mall is gonna be surrounded within the weekend.
Yeah, it seems like you guys always had your hands full right at home.
Yeah, I mean, back in 2010, it was a little bit easier to kind of get away and lend support throughout Malton, but now that our numbers have dropped, it's if we decide to leave and go somewhere else to help out another crew, we normally come back to find Darvel Heights in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, that's why I don't ever like to leave Roftwood. I don't have the heart. The Knights don't have that threat. They used to have a local zombie nemesis called like the St. Farrell's Hospital something. It was a
Right.
hospital right next door to their the Knights Templars home base, White Knoll building. And there's just like the perfect little mini rivalry. But since those guys have idled out, when the Flowers aren't in town, they just kind of sit at home, and then they can afford to launch those support missions. So why did you guys come down to Roftwood? When I first came across you in this year, 2019, it was through Andrew Bauer in the DEM, Department of
Yeah.
Emergency Management. You guys kind of are like with them a little bit these days?
No, so I mean, we try and reach out as best we can to the different survivor groups in the game because our numbers are so low, pretty much across the board. If we can get operations going where multiple groups are, applying all their efforts toward it, it makes it a little bit easier for us to accomplish our goals. So we were working with East Backtown Defenders a little bit, and then Andy Bauer actually messaged. I can't remember if it was me or Clayton initially on the Discord asking for help, and the whole point was initially to go down, clear out the malls in Stanberry, Roftwood, and then Tollington, and then through in-game stuff, we ended up getting linked up with you guys in the RCC Discord channel. So it's been kind of like a combined effort, trying to support you guys where you need it, and then also help the Dem do what they were trying to do as well.
Well, I definitely appreciate your guys' presence. It's been noticeable. You just showed up both in game and on the Discord, and it's been a really cool vibe. I don't think I've seen assault in the game at this level of orchestration since I started playing again in 2017. Like Roftwood got like crushed, and you guys like helping us out right now is like super appreciated. It's just crazy timing. Like you were helping us support a Nicole's Mall offensive for a little bit, and then we just got smashed on Halloween. And you're still sticking around. You didn't just like run away or anything. Is this shocking to you, or is this kind of like what it was like in Kiger Mall? Is this kind of like what you're used to?
I mean, years ago, absolutely, there's a lot of active groups in the Kiger area it was easy to work together. It was a little bit slower communications because, the Discord didn't exist back then. It was just kind of forum chat and in-game stuff. But having all of those groups kind of working together towards the same end goal was always a lot of fun. And it's also something that I really haven't seen in mass, kind of how it's been the last couple weeks for a long time. Like the East Backtown Defenders and us, we border each other, so there's a lot of communication that goes there between us. But the coordination effort that has been happening over the last couple of weeks is something that I haven't seen in a while, and it's pretty damn awesome.
It's fun, but man, it's disheartening. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I'm kind of like it's so hard when you just get like beat up this bad for so long, and the numbers
Yeah.
are so against us. But like, it also kind of, I think, builds character. And I like what Lord Mullick says. He says steel sharpens steel.
Right.
So we're
Yeah.
getting crushed, but it puts things in perspective. Holy cow! Literally, I haven't even bothered spending AP for searching for ammo all month. It's just been so, I don't know, we only have so much AP to dedicate towards revives. I don't want to be a guy, people just kill me like super quick if I'm breathing. If I'm a
Yeah.
zombie, I like last longer and I can provide pretty good intel. I can use my claws. I'm like almost more effective at this point in time as a zombie. Ammo finding and searching, that takes like RNG luck and a bunch of AP. And then you gotta like find a safe spot where there's no PKers like hunting around. For the first time, I think my zombie GG character, well, I don't think it is. My zombie GG character is kind of doing the like pro survivor style of transmortal tactics in this like campaign. It's just so nitty gritty right now. I don't know, I just have to adopt new tactics to try to defend Roftwood.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty consistent with just about everything. You know, as the game progresses and kind of evolves, if groups want to survive, they have to start being able to adapt to like the new changing environment. Because if you don't, you know, you start to lose people's interest in the game. Because you know, if it does get too one-sided, some people think, you know, what's the point? But it's just kind of finding a good balance on, you know, what you're trying to do in game. Like if you're, you know, how traditional you're going to be, if you're going to use, I can't remember. I know what you're talking about, where the transmortal tactics, I think is what you called it.
Yeah, like zombies, for example, are pro-zombie, but they use breather status to accomplish objectives. It's not very, like, Barha traditional, but it
Yeah.
is, like, a transmortal pro-zombie tactic, and, like, transmortal pro-survivor tactics, I think, are sometimes necessary. Needles are just so freaking expensive. 10 AP, and you still have to find one.
Yeah.
And then you only respawn with, like, what, a little bit of health, and then if you're infected, the AP tax is like so ridiculous to breathe. It's expensive as hell to breathe.
I mean, it really is. And then I think a lot of it depends on like what someone's individual take on the purpose of the game. I think you had mentioned before what Frank was talking about. Basically, you know, what is the end goal? Like, are we meant to be able to combat the dead effectively, or are we meant to survive? And it's just kind of how you view what the purpose of the game is, I think.
Yeah, that was really cool. The way his mind frame is, the Soldiers of Crossman is very reflective to how he plays the game, and that mythos or whatever he shared and you've kind of shared, where the Soldiers of Crossman are a pro-survivor group, and his version of survivor is like literally by definition to survive. So you're not trying to like take things over and conquer stuff. You're just really worried about preservation and just staying alive. And then he said also having fun and brotherhood were pretty important principles in the Soldiers of Crossman. But number one, just surviving. Don't spend your AP chasing PKers.
Unless you can make it fun, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm just so blown away that those mountain globetrotters you guys just didn't hunt, really.
They come in and wreck chop every now and again.
It sounds so frustrating.
It really is, and that's another one of those things that Frank has had a huge influence on, especially after he promoted me to an officer of the Soldiers of Crossman, because he's effectively given me and Clayton, you know, kind of free reign to change our policies and kind of change how we do things. But having that instilled, like that mindset of how to play, you know, for the last 7 or 8 years before that switch actually happened, has kind of helped us keep pace with, you know, what we've been known for in the game in the past.
So when you first joined in 2010, it was still Frank. He was an officer. And then it was that Akon character.
So if I remember correctly, Frank was either a commissar or he was an officer at the time. Icon was an officer. He kind of led everything from the top, and then it trickled down to Frank, and then Brahm and Shadak, I believe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing those correctly, but they were kind of the officers, or at least the people that we kind of look to as newer players in the game.
And then now in 2019, you're an officer. You literally go
Yes,
from like a level 2 baby in Pitney Bank to like presently still representing the Soldiers of Crossman tags as an officer.
it's been a pretty neat ride, especially starting from the bottom and then working my way up and gaining some of the like that in-game trust for your character and kind of mutual mindsets, and then being promoted as most of those senior guys who've been around since the very beginning start trickling away.
What are some of your most memorable moments in the game's history that you recall being a part of? Like for me, specifically, I remember the Big Bash 4 was insane. I remember Roftwood literally had like double-digit stacks of zombies in like every single tile. I didn't know what a screenshot button was back then, but like I've never seen that before. When the Big Bash showed up in Roftwood, every single tile just had at least 10 zombies in it.
Yeah.
It was nuts. Do you have any kind of crazy moments that you remember throughout your, like, what, freaking...
It'd be 9 years of playing the game, but I was actually doing a little bit of reading up on the forums, and I saw a forum post, and I told Frank and Clay this earlier today. I saw a forum post where I was like, "Hey, I got some real world stuff going on. I'll be back in 3 weeks." And then, 2.5 years later, it's my next post. So I did have a little bit of a break in service there around like the 2012, 13, maybe a little bit even in the 14. So I did miss a little bit there, but I can't remember what the damn thing is called. It was the Molten Globetrotters did it was like basically a tour of Molten where they, instead of a zombie group going around and just basically wrecking shop throughout the entire city, the Molten Globetrotters did the equivalent thing with the same end state, but as PKers. So that was pretty frustrating. And then the Dead had their hand in there as well. So it was, and I believe that was back in 2012, 11 or 12, right before I ended up going inactive for a little while. But yeah, that's probably the most I ever saw. Because I mean, I joined right after, not right after, but shortly after March of the Dead and all three Kiger Mall sieges. So I kind of missed out on those historical events.
Do you remember any specific characters? Like, if you were to give me two of them, I'll share. I say it all the time. Ron Burgundy, always my #1 favorite pro survivor. Channel 4 news team, big mouth guy, could attract the biggest crowds and events in the game. If I could just wish anyone to play this game again, it would be him. My second favorite pick, if I could ever summon anyone back, would be Garwala from the Malton Medical Staff. When I first came back to the game in like 2017, I made a brand new character and went back to my favorite spot, Roftwood, and he was one of the original guys who got in the Discord when I first got in, and he just had that cool balance of being like effective in game, but also like in game texting and just having fun. He could roleplay in game and be effective in game. For example, every single time there would be some suicidal situation, just like, we're gonna hold this mall till the last man. A lot of folks are just like, well, I'm gonna bounce and go find a safe place to hide and I'll do recovery support.
Mm-hmm.
Like, after all this shit show goes away, then we'll be there to poke you and fack you. But Garwala was one of those Malton medical staffers who was always like ready to be at the scene of the action, and still like whenever you log in, he'd just be like, I don't know, pogoing on a fucking pogo stick, or like serving everyone drinks and stuff as we like load our ammo. He just offered a pretty cool flavor. Who would you say, if you could pick like two folks that were really stand out in your experience in this game? Welcome back, Roftwood. This concludes the first part of my November 11th, 2019 discussion with my friend Millhouser, a longtime service member and present officer with the Soldiers of Crossman Pro Survivor group. Be sure to stay tuned for the final part 2 coming soon. This RCC Fireside Chat is a post-apocalyptic production proudly presented to you by what was once the Roftwood Coordination Center. I'm freshly retired Zombie GG and Roftwood. Thanks for the love.